What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Anthony with the VR365 YouTube channel. What's going on, guys? It is VR365 Live, episode 8, I believe we're on now. And it is November 12th, Monday, November 12th. It's actually Veterans Day, so obviously want to say to all the veterans out there, to everybody that served in the military, pretty much worldwide for any country, anybody that has served in the military, and obviously for anybody that has given their lives for service of their country, you know, all our regards go to all of these people out there, and much love for that for Veterans Day. So yeah, today is November 12th again, like I said, Monday, and let's get into some of the news that's going on. As you can see over here, do you guys see the chat window? Do you see the chat background? This, of course, is courtesy of Jim Hall. Yes, Jim Hall, who you have probably seen in chat a number of times, has worked with me. He's been working with me behind the scenes, trying to dial some things in, trying to get some things better. And I think things do look a hell of a lot better. In fact, like this chat window here, I was scaled all over the damn place prior. And now the chat window is not scaled at all. The chat window is in the right proportions. It's a little bit smaller, but I hope it's clear. It has clarity. It has crispness. So hopefully it's a big enough size. And we've kind of changed the windows up a little bit. I have like a 4:3 window now that I'm in. And then, of course, that is the game trailer window down there. And then, obviously, we also have the background. Now we have a new background with VR365 logos that are on top of the blocks. So I think that is really sweet. Just much love to Jim Hall. He's really been helping me out in a tremendous way. So absolutely much love to Jim Hall, all about that. Now, of course, the biggest news of the day, and by the way, we're about to switch to a different view. I have not updated the other views, so that will take a little bit of time. We will, of course, improve this as we go along. So let's switch over to this video window that has not been changed quite yet. And here we can see the Odyssey Plus, a Black Friday deal. Here it is. The Odyssey Plus, a Black Friday deal right here, $299, a $200 instant savings, 40% off. This deal begins on November 18th. A lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people are excited about this. It's an opportunity to grab this brand new Samsung Odyssey Plus headset on a screaming deal, $300. We just remember it wasn't very long ago, right, that we heard that the original Odyssey, the first Odyssey was basically dropped to $350. And so a lot of people were kind of interested in grabbing the original Odyssey for $350. And there was a debate. Do I go after the original Odyssey? Do I grab this Odyssey Plus? What do I do? Well, now you're actually getting the Odyssey Plus for $50 cheaper than that original Odyssey deal that was going on, I believe, at the Windows Store. So here it is, Odyssey Plus for $300. That starts on November 18th. Now, the truth of the matter is, though, Steve, I don't know if Steve is going to hop into chat today. Not sure what Steve is doing right now. Might be at work, might be very busy at work. But I know that Steve just recently got his hands on a regular Odyssey. He's had an Odyssey Plus for a while, but he just he ordered a regular Odyssey, and he just got it. And he was screwing around with it yesterday, and he said that after like 15 minutes of playing around with it, he actually prefers the original Odyssey. So he actually prefers the original Odyssey, where this is the Odyssey Plus. And so we still have some conflicting opinions out there. There's a number of other people that have also said, you know what, I like the original Odyssey better than the Odyssey Plus. And I don't know if that has to do with like the fit of it, or possibly the softening of the graphics. The softening of the visuals. It's a little bit, you're trading. You remove that screen door, so screen door is gone, but there is a bit of softening to the image, and Steve is kind of still running it through he's running it through its paces. And then the other thing too is Steve does wear glasses, and so part of his issue with the Odyssey Plus is that it didn't really work very good for glasses, and maybe the original Odyssey fits a little bit better. So I don't know. It's still a bit of a conundrum. I don't know what to think here. Do you go for the original Odyssey? Do you go for the Odyssey Plus? The $300 price is a great price, and it's kind of funny that all of this is going on when we just found out the crazy Valve HMD rumor as well. You got the Pimax 5K Plus that is just starting to leak out. So it's really starting to turn into a crazy situation in terms of where do we go here? Like which one of these headsets do we want to grab? And some people, like if you go to the Vive subreddit, let me see if I can find it here. But I know on the Vive subreddit, somebody is asking about, okay, let me switch over here real quick. So one of the threads, speculation, big news week. And I actually have not clicked on this, but I'm assuming, okay, next week is the 20th anniversary of the release of Half-Life. There's been a lot of rumors and leaks lately about Half-Life VR, of Valve HMD, and the Knuckles consumer release. Coincidence? Probably. Has Valve ever done special events in the past for important anniversaries? What do you think? And the number one response is, I wouldn't hold your breath. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'm holding my breath either, but one of the things that Gary was talking about, Reckoner VR, he was saying with all of these leaks, with all of those pictures coming out, maybe there will be an announcement that is imminent. So an announcement like Valve, even if they weren't planning on having an announcement this quickly, with all of those leaks, they might speed up the timeline for a possible major announcement. So that could happen at any given time. So it kind of throws a monkey wrench into all of this, and it really makes it kind of interesting as far as that goes. Okay, now what else do we want to get into? Let me switch back over here. I didn't get a chance to really check out a lot of these news stories prior to today's show. So I have some family that is visiting, some stuff that's going on with family related things. I didn't get a chance to look at all of this stuff, but going over here to Road to VR, there is some different news that is going on. Here's that holiday deal that brings the new Samsung Odyssey Plus to just $300. But what about this, guys? YouTube VR is finally available on the Oculus Go. I guess it's now available today. You can grab YouTube VR on the Oculus Go. I have not been able to check this out yet. It says Gear VR users have had access to the YouTube's VR app since July, but now it's Oculus Go's turn. So a lot of people have really been waiting for this YouTube on the Oculus Go. So, you'd be able to watch this show, right, on your Oculus Go. It's something that a lot of us have been excited about. So that is pretty big. This story here is a story I haven't really covered yet either. Microsoft, I knew that Microsoft had acquired somebody. I didn't know who it was. I knew it had some kind of relation to virtual reality, and Microsoft acquired InXile Entertainment. Now, they, of course, are the studio behind The Mage's Tale. And I think they also had like a massively multiplayer RPG that was going to be VR that was in development as well. So we're not really sure what is going to happen with all of this. But, InXile Entertainment, I was a fan of The Mage's Tale, and they've been acquired by Microsoft. It doesn't really mean a hell of a lot from a VR standpoint. We really don't know too much about what that means. And then, some other bit of news that we have as well. I'm going to go ahead and switch over here to a brand new trailer for Echo Combat. This is the launch trailer. Let's go ahead and check this one out.
Fly free in 0G. into co-op action. Blue squad, ready. Orange squad, ready. Unleash your arsenal. And make magnificent mayhem. Echo Combat. Available November 15th. Fly free in 0G. Soar into co-op action.
Ah, there I am. I'm muted again. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, take your shot. Take your shot. Yeah, so this is Echo Combat, which is coming this Thursday on November 15th for $9.99. Pretty good deal there. And it's going to be interesting because we've got a lot of games that are coming out right around the 15th, right around the 14th. You know, you got Runes, you got all this stuff. And I heard that Windlands, let me look up Windlands 2 on Steam because I think the release date changed by one day. Let's see here. Because I believe it was, I thought it was, I'm trying to find Windlands 2. That's Windlands 1. Okay, Windlands 2 on Steam. You know what? It's still saying November 15th, but I thought I heard somewhere else. Yeah, this is kind of weird. Okay, so if I go back over here, you can see here's Windlands 2. Release date, November 15th, 2018. It says available November 15th. This game will unlock in approximately 3 days. But if you come down here, it says Windlands 2 launches on November 16th. So I don't know. That's kind of confusing. And then we have Echo Combat on the 15th. We got Runes, I believe, on the 14th. So there is a lot of stuff that is jumping off right around Thursday, right around Wednesday, Thursday, and all of that. We got a lot of stuff that is jumping off right around that time. So that will be interesting. Let me go ahead and bounce back over here to chat. Shirzad Khan City says, I'm telling you what I experienced. What is the reason for me to lie? Go to the Microsoft Store and you'll see. Okay, so Shirzad Khan City is saying that he grabbed an Odyssey Plus for $350 at the Microsoft Store, and I think everybody was coming in and saying, wait, no, that's the first Odyssey that was $350, but he's saying, look, you got to believe me, I got Odyssey Plus. But anyways, it doesn't matter. At this point, you might as well order it from Samsung on the 18th and save another $50. I wonder what Steve, like I believe Steve ordered his Odyssey Plus from, I'm pretty sure he ordered it from Amazon, right? But I think he's going to be returning that anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter too much from that standpoint. And Martino Movie says, problem with Echo games is that some teenager tells you suck. Yeah, and you're lucky if it's a teenager. It's well, you know, I guess if we can, no, like 12. You're going to be dealing with 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds. Every time that I was in Echo Combat, lot of young kids that are in there. It's kind of surprising how many young kids are inside there. Hussein X says, Echo Combat will get lots of hours of play from me. Not been into Onward, Pavlov, Wardust, etc. And he's also saying, I have a Rift and I prefer Rift and Touch for gameplay. Also, I always, almost every time, play some Echo Arena matches when in VR. Now Echo Combat also coming. Movie time, I'd plug in Odyssey Plus. Yeah, that's the question. When you get an Odyssey Plus, one of the downsides is you're making a major downgrade in your controller if you go to an Odyssey Plus. There's just no question about it. Right now, the best controllers that are currently available is the Oculus Rift. There's no debate. There's really no debate. The best controller is Oculus Rift. So the touch controller. So if you're going to any other headset, you're taking a downgrade, at least until Knuckles. Until Knuckles arrives, then we can possibly debate that as well. Okay, I got a number of other trailers that we can get into today. Some actual trailers have been sneaking out. Some of them in the last couple of days that I've just missed. For example, Skyscraper. Scraper First Strike, a launch trailer has come out. This actually came out a couple of days ago, but I missed it. Let's go ahead and check this trailer out, and we could talk about it after it's over.
I am LCFR, the Lithium Cold Fusion Ranger, designed, engineered, and programmed by Icarus to manage the megacities and help humanity.
Stay sharp, everyone. We're entering HUMEC-controlled airspace. Let's hope this stolen HUMEC dropship serves its purpose.
According to Icarus-authorized news reports, I perished last year. Those reports were a lie, fabricated by Icarus executives to conceal the truth.
Initiating preliminary stealth landing protocols. Reactor Building 3, sky deck in sight, approaching HRF command post. Stay safe, and remember, the HRF is with you.
I shall appear before the United Nations tomorrow at noon to discuss how we can all move forward, proceed to a better, brighter future.
We have to get this reactor back online.
The HRF will be in range.
Welcome to New Austin.
Alrighty, so that is Scraper First Strike. That is going to be available on November 21st. Labradex Studios is the developer of Scraper. There they are right there, Labradex Studios. And they've really been trying to market the hell out of this thing. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that. They have some different promotions that are going on, I think, where you can possibly win like some kind of VR headset or something if you try to help promote some of their stuff. So a lot of people are posting Scraper related stuff all over the place hoping to win a headset. And every time they have like a new screenshot or something, there's a new thread on Reddit talking about it. So they're really trying to bang away on the advertising there, which of course, I don't blame them. Of course, they're going to try to do that. Let me lower down this volume a little bit over here. We can bounce over to the Steam page for Scraper. Here it is. The date is November 21st. For a while there, I wasn't sure if this was locked into November 21st or not, but it's now on their Steam page, and it says this game will unlock in approximately 8 days. This is Scraper First Strike, and I don't know, it kind of reminds me of Raw Data a little bit. It has a little bit of raw data in it, but you're actually inside, as you're playing this game, you're like inside a cockpit. So it's kind of, you're like moving around in this like little hover ball. So you're not actually on foot. You're in this cockpit, and I think they did that mainly from a standpoint of trying to alleviate potential motion sickness for some people by putting them into a cockpit like that. That's one of the ways they can do it. So that is Scraper First Strike coming on November 21st. One of the things I'm curious about for everybody out there in chat, we know like a lot of these big games that are coming either later this week or maybe coming a little bit a little bit further down the line. You know, you got like Runes, you got Windlands 2. Let me see. I wanted to pop up the Runes Steam page as well. Yeah, so bouncing over here, we got Runes on November 14th. Now, I know Fluke, not a big fan of this. He tried the interactive trailer and he thought it was a dud, and he's not very interested in Runes. The animations were not very good. I'm not ready to write this game completely off. It's definitely an indie game. It's not a straight up AAA game. I'm still slightly interested in that. And then, of course, you do have Windlands. You've got Echo Combat. And then I guess it's probably the following Tuesday is when you have Scraper. And there's probably some other games I'm forgetting about as well. But are you guys interested in, like, of all these games, of Runes, Windlands 2, Scraper, Echo Combat, of like those 4 games, is there one of them that you're particularly more hyped in than maybe some of these other games? It's a good question to ponder. I'm not sure. Okay, let's see. What else can I get into here? You know, one of the things I did want to get into very briefly, and I don't want to spend much time on this because I don't really buy into the whole thing here, but I still think it's rather interesting. And that is PlayStation 5, okay? PlayStation 5 and what I believe to be a lot of fakes. Like, I believe this is the fakest crap I have ever seen. Like, this is so freaking fake. But there are people, in my opinion, that are actually believing in these PlayStation fakes. I saw them for about 3 or 4, I was looking at it for like 2 minutes. Honestly, I probably read maybe 2 sentences of some of these like supposedly leaked slides and images. I read about 2 sentences and I was like laughing. It was hilarious to me. It's faker than fake. In fact, let me go ahead and switch over here. Okay, look at this. Public unveiling of PlayStation 5 hardware roadmap tentatively scheduled for February 21st, 2019, subject to change. Final hardware, it just sounds so fake, so bogus. Note, internal use only. Do not redistribute in any way or form, electronic or otherwise. Yeah, okay. Just the words that are being used in a lot of this stuff. There's no company that would write these kinds of paragraphs. It is beyond fake. It is so fake, it's laughable. PlayStation VR wireless, the VR wireless peripheral. Man, and look at this gigantic PlayStation 5. It looks like a Laserdisc player or like a big old VHS deck. But here's public unveiling of PlayStation 5 hardware roadmap tentatively scheduled for February 21st, subject to change. Final hardware reveal date not yet decided. Several dates are being considered. Like, there's no way. I'm sorry. Companies don't do this. They don't say several dates are being considered. We're not sure yet, but we're still figuring it out. I don't think this is going to happen. I need to move my camera over here a little bit. See, what we did was we made a 4:3 video window. Because really, do you need me to be... Actually, instead of moving my camera, I just need to move this a little bit like that. Instead of... we don't really need a 16:9 video screen over here because it's just my head. And yeah, Paradise Decay is saying, Anthony will have to eat his words if this is true. Paradise, not only will I eat my words, I'll eat an entire PlayStation 5 Laserdisc player because this is not happening. Now, I'm not saying there won't be a PS5. I'm saying that there obviously is going to be a PS5, but I'm saying I do not believe this in the least. Like, this is so phony and so fake. But we've seen this over the years. Let's see what some people are talking about. And Charles Kev Gret talking about Borderlands 2 there. Okay, John Edwards, PS5 question mark? Paradise Decay says everyone needs to try the wrench demo. Yeah, it's definitely worth trying. Even if you're not a car guy, it's worth trying. And Adam says PS5 George Foreman edition, pretty much. It's really Laserdisc player edition is what it is. It looks like a big old Laserdisc. And Charles Van Nolan says PlayStation mock-ups have always been floating around the internet since before the PS3 was even a thing. Yeah, everybody loves to make these kinds of mock-ups. And I'm a Dreamer says, yeah, the language in that fake presentation is so unprofessional, especially, yeah, it's honestly really what it looks like to me is like some guy just is kind of typing along and like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of good. Just making it up as he goes along. It is hilarious. And PlayStation 5 will be a mobile device. You heard it here first. Well, no, you heard it here. PlayStation 5 is not going to be a mobile device, but I was kind of hoping PSVR 2 would actually be standalone. You know, I've talked about that before. I know a lot of you guys don't want that because it's just not as powerful as you want it to be. Okay, so anyway, just wanted to cover this PS5 stuff because some people have been hitting me up and saying, hey, Anthony, you going to talk about this PS5 thing? And I looked at it very briefly and I was like, I don't think I need to cover, do I need to cover this? Like, do I need to even address it? But I just thought it was funny. So I thought, okay, well, I could bring it up from a standpoint of it being really hilarious. Okay, let's see. I do have some other trailers I wanted to grab real quick. So let's see here. Let me switch over to Upload VR because Upload VR has a story and there's a trailer I'm about to grab in just a second, but maybe what we should do is bounce over to Upload VR, kind of check out what the story is, and then we'll check out the trailer. So over here at Upload VR, they're talking about Trinity is a sci-fi VR Odyssey that meshes storytelling styles. Now this is a 360 video, and I know 360 video is absolutely garbage and a lot of us don't care about it. But the interesting thing with this one is this is going to feature, well, it's a 360 video, but it might have a little bit of like some volumetric capture, like a mixture of like volumetric capture and 360 video, maybe a mixture of some pre-rendered backdrops and some other things like that. And this was Jamie Feltham is talking about this. He's saying he saw the first episode, which mixes its various styles in an intriguing fashion. It reminded me of the no compromise weirdness of sci-fi shows like Farscape, and it touches on some interesting avenues for VR storytelling. This is by Unlimited, UNLTD. And the CEO, John Hamilton, says a few years ago, nobody knew how to apply visual effects into 360 spherical video. And Jamie Feltham is saying not everything works in here, but you know, it's still relatively interesting. So this is Trinity. So why don't we go ahead and check out this trailer? I'm always curious about these things. I hope, you know, I'm looking for these companies to push these boundaries a little bit. Eventually we're going to have some really kick-ass stuff that is in this kind of avenue. So let's check this out.
In the beginning, man made code into flesh, and code made God. And then God brought down hell on earth. Beginning.
All right, so that is Trinity, and apparently Trinity is going to be arriving on November 16th. It arrives on HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and VR arcades as well. Now, this first season of what this is going to be a 5-episode season, with each installment having viewers follow a different character. These newer episodes will also add new interactive elements that can affect the outcome of the story. So I don't know. It looks interesting. Are we going to have to pay money for this? I don't know. I don't know. Are they going to charge money for each of these episodes? Looks like the Borg of Star Trek. Yeah. I mean, I think it looks pretty cool. You just don't know how this thing's going to play out. But, some of, like, looking at that right there, that reminds me of 0 Days VR. Like, some of this reminds me of, like, that right there really reminds me of 0 Days VR. So some of this looks pretty cool. I definitely want to check it out. I don't know if I'm going to have to pay money for each of these episodes, kind of like Dispatch kind of did that, where you get, or maybe you'll get like one episode free kind of to show it off, and then after that you might want to pay for episodes. Not sure how this is going to work, but I'm actually excited about. Eventually we're going to have stories in VR. Eventually we're going to have TV shows in VR. Eventually we're going to have movies in VR, and no one knows exactly how all of that's going to work. And so it's an exploratory thing. We got to figure this thing out. We got to figure out what's going to go on here. Okay, let's see. Was there another? Had a couple other trailers I wanted to grab real quick. Let's see. What else did I want to get into? Well, you know what? Why don't we just go into some Blade and Sorcery discussion? Why don't I go ahead and get into that, and then we could possibly look at some other stuff a little bit later. Okay, let me see if I can find my notes here, because I definitely took a bunch of notes on Blade and Sorcery. Okay, so I did get into the beta for this, and it's a closed beta. And the thing that we have to understand about Blade and Sorcery, this is a closed beta. This is still a work in progress. This is not done. So all my impressions need to be taken with a degree of a grain of salt here, because this is not the finalized version. I believe this game is going to enter early access mid-December, and even then it's going to be early access. So we have to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt a little bit. Now, I've played this for a couple of days now. In fact, I could have talked about this yesterday with Steve. I ended up forgetting about it, so I didn't end up commenting on this yesterday. But I played this quite a bit. I've tried the different sample levels that are in this open beta version. And basically, to start it off at the very beginning, when you first get in here, you're in a room. That's the way it starts out right there. You're standing in front of a mirror, and you have full body inverse kinematics. And the full body inverse kinematics is pretty decent, but every once in a while, as you're moving your arms around, it'll get kind of like your wrist will move in a very weird way, or your arm will kind of go off in a very weird way, and it can kind of be a little bit weird, but pretty decent inverse kinematics. And so you're kind of just walking around these rooms, and you get a sword, and you get a battle axe, and you get some different items. And the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take that sword, you're going to want to take that dagger, and you're going to want to hit it against a table, hit it against a chair, hit it against the wall, hit it against everything. That is the key factor about Blade and Sorcery, is it does have physics. It also has this very bloody and violent gameplay as well. But it does have this legit physics where you're taking objects, hitting them against other objects, and something actually happens. Because there's a lot of VR games where if you have a sword or a dagger and you try to hit that table there, you try to hit a chair or whatever it happens to be, and your sword basically just goes right through it. Your dagger just goes right through it. There's no collision detection. There's no real physics. And this game does provide that. That's kind of its claim to fame, really, is the physics that are in this game. The graphics in the room, in the house that you start in, like right there, the graphics are relatively basic, but you do feel like you're in a space. For some reason, I'm walking around in those rooms, I kind of feel like I'm in a space. So the graphics pretty basic. You do feel like you're there, though. One of the things I was slightly disappointed with, being in the initial start area where you're in that room, is like whenever I see drawers, whenever I see cabinets, whenever I see doors, I want to open the drawers. I want to open the cabinets. I want to try to open the door. And a lot of times you're unable to do that. And so, you're taking your Oculus Touch controller, you go over to the drawer, you try to grab and open the drawer and nothing happens. Or you try to grab and open the cabinet and nothing happens. It's always a little bit depressing when that happens. You'll see like a chest or something that you could possibly open, and you can't seem to open anything. So that was a little bit irritating. That was one of the things I noticed right away. But that could possibly come later. Now, you can pick up items. Like, you can pick up chairs. You can pick up coffee mugs. There's a lot of different things that, not coffee mugs, but like a chalice or something, right? You can pick certain things up and you can kind of move them around and drop them. It is kind of difficult, though, to like pick up something and throw it. However, one of the abilities that you have in this game is you have basically like a force pull and a force push, kind of from Star Wars, where you activate this mode and you're like levitating a sword up in the air, and you could levitate the sword closer to you and then you can grab it. Or while you're levitating the sword, you can like flick your wrist in a certain way and the sword will go boom, and it'll go flying across the room and like slam into the other side of the room, like a battle axe or a dagger or whatever you happen to have in your hand. So you can't really just like pick something up and throw it, but if you're using this levitation mode, you can throw objects around, and you can throw them at blazing speeds, and they'll stick into the wall or whatever, they'll stick into another object when they eventually hit the other object. And that is pretty cool. But that does take a bit of time to get a feel for like the force push and the force pull that you're able to use. I actually did not use any of my magic skills when I was playing this. Now, we can of course talk about the violence and the blood, because there definitely is some serious violence and blood that is going on here. You do, like, when you're in these melee combat situations with these guys, it does feel a little more interesting than a lot of the VR games that we have that have tried to do melee combat, because you can take your sword and if you stick it the right way, like you can stick it up in somebody's gut, or you can stick that dagger like right in somebody's head. And you kind of get into the feeling with this game where you start to turn in a bit of a psychopath. I mean, it's almost like a psychopath simulator from the standpoint that when you're out there in that open arena, is going to arrive. Now, I can't say that everything is wonderful about this game. In fact, let me go to my negatives on this game. Okay, so there's a number of different negatives I have. So snap turning is kind of weird, and I don't know what is going on here with a number of different games I've played recently that have weird snap turning. Like, I thought the snap turning in 10 Hearts was a little bit weird, because you kind of like, first of all, you hit different buttons to do the snap turning. It's like one button to snap turn that way, one button to snap turn to the left, and it kind of like will go a little bit that way and then snap turn. That was kind of weird. This one also has a bit of a weird snap turn. I don't understand what's going on with these weird snap turns. Can't everybody just have a standard, just your standard normal snap turning, like Fallout 4 VR or like Skyrim? Like, if I'm in Skyrim or Fallout 4 VR, you hit snap turn and it's just bam, bam, bam. It's just an automatic snap turn. But a lot of these different games, the snap turning is weird, and it kind of throws me off a little bit. I didn't like that too much. Sometimes the inverse kinematics is really off. You know, it's pretty good. The inverse kinematics for your wrist and your forearms is pretty good, but for the rest of your body, it gets a little bit off. One of the things that really did bother me, though, about this game is the enemies, when they die, they crumple up kind of ragdoll style, and it just looks kind of amateur. Like, it's not like the way these guys die when they fall into a pile. It's not AAA in any way, shape, or form. It's very indie style. It kind of reminded me of Island 359. You know when the dinosaurs die in Island 359 and they crumple into a pile the exact same way every single time? The good news is when these guys die, they don't necessarily crumple the exact same way, but they do crumple, and it's just not very realistic looking. Another thing I wanted to say in terms of like negativity on this thing is really my biggest individual worry with this game is that once the honeymoon period wears off of like the really cool physics, and the physics are really cool, but once that honeymoon period wears off, it's kind of like, well, is there really a game here? Because it's a wave shooter, really, but it's a wave shooter like in a Skyrim type of a world. And so you have these waves of enemies coming at you, and it's a melee battling thing. And some of these environments are beautiful. Some of these environments are gorgeous. I was walking around some of these environments, and I'm looking around at everything, and I'm like, you know, this kind of looks like Skyrim. But the problem is it doesn't have like the orchestra of music playing in the background. It doesn't feel like Skyrim. So it has these nice backdrops, but there's something missing to it. And then kind of the wave combat, you know, that can kind of get boring after a while. But again, this is early access. This is a closed beta. This is the very beginning. The physics are incredibly impressive. I did the thing where you take a sword and then you take the battle axe and you like set it on top of the sword, and you're like swinging your sword around, and the battle axe is kind of swinging back and forth like that. And that is super cool. Like what I call the money shot in here, where he's swinging the sword around. I did that. It works very well. Bow and arrow is relatively decent. So, you know, this is one to watch out for. Physics pretty amazing. It's kind of like an adult version of Gorn in certain ways. But I don't know. I still have kind of a mixed feeling on this game. So I'm not like super, super in love with it, but I definitely see the promise. So that is Blade and Sorcery. Okay, yeah, everybody over here in chat is like, look, we don't give a damn about Blade and Sorcery. We're over that. Or maybe they've already watched a million videos already on it, and they're really talking about this Samsung deal. They're talking about the $299. They're also talking about Black Friday and all of these other things as well. So there seems to be a lot of hype in terms of like hardware. I think a lot of people do want to get a new headset. So there is a lot of hype from that standpoint. Okay, let's see, what else could we get into? I know I do have some other trailers to get into. Let me go back to the trailer window. And let's see. Well, you know, we could check this trailer out. It's called Where Thoughts Go. Let's go ahead and check this one out. Looks like a pretty cool trailer. I do have to resize this trailer, though. And I'm going to have to resize it when I full screen it.
I miss someone that I probably shouldn't miss.
Try to connect to as many people as possible.
I guess I just wanted to figure things out.
I wish I would have spent more time with them.
Such an intense, passionate connection.
In my life, there's so many things that I wish I could talk to him about. Perfection is messy. Perfection is ugly.
I was really obsessed with dinosaurs. It depends on the day and when you ask me.
I feel lucky to have found it so young and so early.
We were
team above everything else.
Take care of yourself. More. What do I do now?
You record whatever you want to record.
Alrighty, so that is an interesting idea. It's called Where Thoughts Go. And one of the interesting things about this is you basically go to this world, and it's kind of like a mind labyrinth, VR type of thing, or kind of like a Zing the Land Beyond, or a lot of these different games where you're just kind of chilling. You're just kind of walking around and kind of exploring a kind of a surreal environment. But the difference here is that people have left little messages. Like there's these little balls that you'll click on, and you can hear other people's messages, like things that they discovered about life or whatever, And then you can leave messages as well. So it kind of has this persistence that is going on. What does this remind me of? What is the game? What game was it? Was it like Dark Souls or whatever, where you could leave little messages and other people could find the messages, and sometimes like the messages would be leading you down the wrong path and they would be screwing you up, and other times the messages would be helping you out. And so it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting concept. And if we bounce over here to the Steam page, this has actually already been available. This came out on November 8th. It has 5 user reviews. The normal price is $10. It is still on promotion for a few days here for $9, so you're saving $1 there, 10% off. Where Thoughts Go. It says, discover the dreams, fears, and secrets of other players and leave your own for others to find. In this award-winning social experience, await creatures to reveal the voice messages of others that have previously visited. One thing I think they should have in this, I was just thinking about this, is like, if I were to go in here and do this and leave a message with my voice, and like one of you guys happened to be in this as well, and you clicked on my little ball, you'd be like, oh shit, that's Anthony. You'd recognize my voice. So I almost think what they should have for this, because I think some people might be hesitant to leave certain kind of messages if people are going to know who they are. You kind of want to remain anonymous. So I don't know if this has this, but what it should have is some kind of way to alter your voice a little bit. So you can change your voice, maybe make it a little bit deeper or a little bit higher, so like nobody would be able to possibly recognize your voice. So you could go in here and you could leave a message about, what you think about life, or what you think about loss or love, or, all these like weird things that we get into, right? But, switching back over here, it says like, discover the dreams, fears, and experiences of other people and leave your own for others to find. In this award-winning social experience, sleeping creatures float towards you, awakened by a gentle touch to reveal the voice message of others who have previously visited. So yeah, I think it's kind of like, wasn't it Dark Souls? What was the game? I know there was a game where you could actually leave messages for other people, but I don't remember which game it was. Okay, so bouncing back over here in chat, Paradise says, Anthony, when you're talking about VR films, I mentioned that I think a big name director like James Cameron will be one of the first to make a show-stopping VR movie. I think we're going to wait a long time for that, though, Paradise, because I think a director like James Cameron, he isn't willing to go into this area yet until we have the infrastructure to deliver a movie like that. We don't have the infrastructure to how are you going to deliver a movie like that to the headsets we have now? The headsets we have now don't have enough resolution. Like, it doesn't matter if the video file was 500 gigs big or whatever. How are you going to deliver that experience to our current headsets? Our current headsets aren't there for that. So I think we might be like 5, 6, 7 years away from it. And then also like volumetric video and all of that. Like, we still don't even know what the canvas is for doing this. So I think it might be a little while. You might have somebody like a James Cameron that could experiment with stuff like this. And I think if they do experiment with something like this, they'll probably do a very bite-sized sort of a thing. who is the director of District 9 and like Elysium and what's that guy's name? He was going to do a Halo movie and stuff. Wasn't he making some kind of small movie like in the Unity engine? That's kind of where I think we need to go with VR, is actually trying to make a movie in an actual game engine. I think is probably the better way to go initially. Then you could kind of have something like The Invisible Hours, where the movie is happening all around you, and it really is 3D, and you can really look at it from every possible angle. So maybe we'll go down that road. T-Dub is saying, sorry, broken record question, but has anyone seen the Fisherman Tale release date yet? All I can find is 2018. Yeah, no, I have not heard any update on that. And a lot of times what developers Fisherman Tale, I can check quick look at the Steam page here. Yeah, you know, if we go over here to the Steam page, all it is saying is coming soon. And it just says fall 2018. Now, this was supposed to be a 2018 release on PlayStation VR and then also PC VR as well. But a lot of times these things are coming in hot. A lot of these developers, like, they don't know it's hard for them to have a release date that is off into the future until they really have a good feel for things. And a lot of times these release dates come in hot. Look at stuff like Windlands 2 and Red Matter, you know, where, bam, we're getting a release date at like the last possible moment sometimes with this stuff. So, yeah, we do not. Neil Blomkamp. Okay, there's Paradise checking in. Yeah, Neil Blomkamp. I thought I heard a story about Neil Blomkamp trying to create something in Unity, like a really short, interactive kind of a movie where you're kind of standing and the movie kind of like is wrapping all around you. And I thought he was going to try to do that in Unity. I don't know. That's what I thought I remember, but I might have been off here. And Phil Urine says, yes, Anthony, the game you're thinking about is Dark Souls. Yeah, I knew there was some kind of game where you could leave messages, and that's kind of what they're going for with Where Thoughts Go. Has anybody tried that? I don't know. It looks kind of interesting. Okay. So, you know, we've been going for about an hour here, but you know what I could do is we could go ahead and check out a couple of the subreddits real quick just to see what the primary stories are that some people are talking about out there. So let's go ahead and bounce over here. So the number one story on the Vive subreddit is this Black Friday deal. There's a lot of excitement here. If we look at 105 comments, it's been upvoted quite dramatically. And a lot of people are pretty tempted by this, but other people are wondering, should I hold out for the Pimax 5K Plus? And then the other downside is, I mean, you're going to, well, not so much on the Vive side, but Oculus Rift owners, you're taking a pretty big downgrade on the controllers. And there's also a bit of Windows mixed reality jank, like trying to play your games on Windows mixed reality. Like the Steam games are going to work pretty good probably, but like Oculus Rift, you're actually going to have to go back to Revive, which I've set Revive. You know, I haven't used Revive in the longest time, and I don't really want to go back to Revive. And then we're talking about, here's a debate, the RTX 2080, not the Ti, but the regular 2080, going head-to-head with the 1080 Ti. You know, what is the comparison there? So we're starting to get some breakdowns on that. And let's see, you know, the Echo Combat launch trailer, people talking about that. They're talking about the heat problem of the HTC Vive wireless adapter. This does seem to be an issue. Oh, Triangular Pixels explains plans for Unseen Diplomacy 2. Wonder how much, no information here, so we just have to go to the website, I guess. I wonder if they're saying that it's not going to be room scale like we'd like it to be. Unseen Diplomacy 2 is coming and it is being made right now. Our first game was exceptionally popular, won us a lot of praise, and it has some great fans like you. We believe that there's legs in the gameplay, so we are making the sequel. The original Unseen Diplomacy was created for a one-week event in October 2015 and was released on Steam due to popular demand. We've been trying to get funding since and still yet to get anything close to the budget we need. But thanks to smash hit Plunder sales, I'm kind of surprised that was successful for them, and a small grant, they've been able to at least start the project. If you know of any publisher who would like Unseen Diplomacy 2 on their platform storefront, okay, so they're basically, they're kind of reaching out and saying, look, we need some funding here. So this might be a ways away. And then they're not really saying if this will be legit, what do you call it, room scale or not. So that is Unseen Diplomacy. But I'm looking forward to that. I really hope they do get back to like full room scale, even though not too many people have room scale. And then here's an interesting topic right here. This guy says, regarding the negativity in this thread, but what he really meant to say was the negativity in this subreddit. And he's kind of saying that the Vive subreddit seems to have a lot of negativity, a lot of people complaining about things, a lot of people complaining about HTC Vive's service, complaining about just HTC Vive in general, or HTC the company, complaining about different problems they're having with headsets and stuff. So is there too much negativity? There is quite a bit, actually, of negativity on here. We have our boy MameFan. He did a nice little thread here on the Vive subreddit where, he has pictures and stuff of the Void in Vegas. Here's some of the different pictures. He was in Las Vegas recently, tried out the Void. He's got some nice pictures of it here. And he also did zero latency as well. And so he's got some pictures of zero latency, and he kind of has a breakdown on both of them. That's MameFan, I believe, right here, looking at the guide there. Probably had somebody else, I think, or no, maybe that isn't MameFan, because I don't think he's got a beard. So that probably isn't MameFan right there. But yeah, zero latency. So he tried this out. A lot of different pictures and stuff, and a lot of people talking about that in the thread. He kind of gives us his take. $35 for 15 minutes on the Void, $50 for 30. That's a lot. $50 for 30 minutes on zero latency. He actually preferred, I believe, zero latency. I think, but he said the Void is probably better if you're a noob and want more of an interesting experience. So MameFan is on the Vive subreddit talking about some stuff. Okay, why don't we bounce over to the Oculus subreddit, see what some of the main stories are here. Of course, Echo Combat is going to be a big deal. The new launch trailer coming, I believe, Thursday, right, for $10. And then the 2080 versus 1080 Ti comparison. There is an in-depth story about Palmer Luckey departing from Oculus in the Wall Street Journal. I've not had a chance to check that out yet. They're, of course, talking about Odyssey Plus on Black Friday as well. And that's pretty much it over here. Let me just take a quick look on PSVR before we bounce out of here, see if there's any last-minute things. Oh, you know what? This is news. Contagion VR Outbreak has been delayed. Now, the last I heard, Contagion VR Outbreak, the full game was not going to hit PSVR until sometime in 2019. But they were hoping to have a demo, I believe, around this time. Remember, Contagion VR Outbreak had kind of a calendar of like upcoming events and when they think this would be patched, when they think that would be patched. And I think the PSVR demo, I think it may have been scheduled for maybe late November. They had a roadmap, right? And so this one's short and simple. We don't have enough content, and the current quality of some of the systems are not as good as they can be. As such, we can't release the full game. But do be on the lookout for the demo to appear. So they still got a demo coming, but that's pretty much it. And then they do have the Steam version. So yeah, Contagion will not be hitting PSVR anytime in the very near future. So we're going to have to wait on that a little bit. So here's some news, actually. Megalith for PlayStation VR. This MOBA, it is going to have a free beta starting on November 13th. That's tomorrow, guys. So tomorrow there will be a free beta. This is coming from Disruptive Games. So man, a lot of stuff is going on. There really is a lot of stuff going on right around this week. We got a lot of games coming out. We got the Megalith open beta that everybody can jump into on the 13th. I'm not really a MOBA guy, but I'll probably try to get in there just to check it out. And that seems to be pretty much most of what is going on here. Werewolves Within is supposedly getting a movie. I did hear about that. But that's pretty much what's going on the various subreddits. Okay, let's go ahead and bounce back over to chat and see if there's anything else going on in chat. Charles Van Nolan says, if you guys haven't heard of Neil Blomkamp's Oat Studios channel, you should check out the short films they've got on there. And Shirzad Khan City says, I heard you can mod Rift controller sensors with mixed reality HMDs. Well, I know there's a number of people that are using some of the Windows MR headsets, but they're still using Lighthouses and Vive controllers. So they're actually mix matching Vive controllers with Windows mixed reality headsets. I haven't heard about doing the same thing with Oculus Rift. I don't know. That might be kind of hard to do. I don't know how that would work. And Shirzad Khan City says HTC is getting a bad rep, looking for someone to buy them out in the near future. And Paradise Decay says he tried zero latency in the UK. Shirzad Khan City says Contagion and full game don't belong in the same sentence. You know, honestly, going back to Contagion, though, even though there isn't a full game, I kind of believe what they have out there right now. Like, I'm not going to hate on Contagion. Contagion is what? It's $20, right? It's $19.99. Contagion VR Outbreak. Let me just look it up real quick. You know, I know they've made a lot of promises, like, about the full game and everything. If you go over here to their Steam page, the reviews are mixed. Recent reviews are mixed. All reviews are mostly positive. It's $20. They've got the demo there. I mean, I guess the biggest complaint you can say is that what's available in the full version is not that much different than the demo. And so that's what some of the complaints are. But I kind of believe if there was never a demo, I don't think a lot of people would be complaining about this. I just think they're complaining because a lot of people did try the demo and they feel like the full version just doesn't have that much extra. But I got into what's currently available out there. I did get a code, you know, so full disclosure on that. And there's some stuff that happens prior to the demo, and just there's some other stuff. There's some additional stuff. I have not seen this area yet. Like, I haven't gotten outside in an area like that. I've still been always stuck inside this like hotel. It kind of reminds me of that Spanish movie REC, you know, and they made like an American version. Like, this indoor area in that apartment complex really reminds me of that. I have to imagine that was a major inspiration. That movie REC had to be a major inspiration for them. But I don't know. I think it's pretty fair what they got going on here. It's not like they're asking for $29.99 or even $24.99. It's just sometimes you get dinged for having a really good demo. The same thing happened with Racket NX. Their demo was almost too good. It's almost a situation where the demo is too good and then the full game doesn't have that much more than the demo, and then the developer ends up getting penalized, which is kind of unfair. But yeah, okay, guys, it's been about an hour, I believe, so I am going to go ahead and bounce out of here. Let me go ahead and just grab my my little outro logo before I bounce out of here, and that will go ahead and do it. Of course, I have to resize it because I changed my window previously. Alrighty, so anyway, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it. That's going to go ahead and do it for today's show. Oh my God, I forgot to stop the show halfway and say tickle that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Do all those things. I will be back tomorrow around 11 a.m. Pacific time. Same bat time, same bat channel. We are on this new channel. And you know what? Once again, much love to Jim Hall. Jim Hall has helped me. He's created this background that has these squares with the VR365 logo. Super cool. Helped me dial in chat. I think chat looks so much better. Do you guys remember the days when some of my YouTube thumbs was just this ugly, garish looking thing of it had my video window, the trailer window, and then it had this big white area on the side for chat. And sometimes I was using that as my actual thumbs, and oh my God, that looked horrible. And now we got like a nice looking chat. Looks really good. It is clear. It is clean. It is crisp. Really nice background. So absolute much love to Jim Hall. Much thanks to Jim Hall for all of his efforts, and he continues to help me. We're still going to be improving some other things as we continue to move along. So hopefully production value, all that will start to improve in the coming weeks and months as we move forward. So I will see everybody tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. See you guys then. Take it easy. Later.